Good morning from Bali, Indonesia. It's me Sonia from Live Podcast Media, and today we have a very special guest, Fawkes, the director of Ecamm Network, and also Marc Mawhinney from Natural Born Coaches. I love them all. Katie has been supporting me also as a sponsor here on Live Podcast for 100 days, and then also Marc, thank you for being here for all of you.
Thanks for
We're
having me.
excited. Yeah.
So today, because Mark would like to talk about how to get the revenue from podcast in a unique way, right? I love Mark ideas how he managed his group from the very beginning. He has thousands of people in his group, Natural Born Coaches. But you know it was like a traditional group in the beginning. Even the newsletter was sent by mail, like Santa Claus, Kathy. It's not by email at the time. He started that way until he now coaches many other coaches also to get their group works, right, how to make the out how to monetize the group. So Mark, today we are going to talk about podcast, and Kathy is also the expert in video podcast today. So what do you think about the progress of podcast today?
Well, it's funny. I launched Natural Born Coaches in 2014. It
Wow.
was November 2014, so we're just at about
Mm.
10 years coming up, and almost 900 episodes. But back when I launched the show, I thought I was too late to the party. I was like, oh man, if only. I think John Lee Dumas had launched EO Fire in 2012 or something. I'm like, oh, I'm too late for
Mm-hmm.
this. Darn it, I should have went sooner. But anyways, I jumped in, and now I have people saying the same thing when I'm encouraging them to start a podcast. Oh, well, easy for you to say, Mark, you started 10 years ago. It's too late for me, and it's still grow. So I'm happy with the state of podcasting, although I do say that people, if you're spending the time and energy doing a podcast, make sure that you're monetizing it, because your time's
Mm-hmm.
valuable, and you should be getting an ROI for the amount of effort that it takes.
So what is the contribution about the Facebook group? Because you are very great about Facebook group in podcasting world.
And sorry, it was a little choppy, so I missed the first part of the question. Could you
Oh,
repeat that?
sorry. What is the contribution of Facebook group in this case? Like any social media can do this, right, to promote your podcast. But for you, because you are famous with the Natural Born Coaches group, Facebook group especially, so what is the contribution of the Facebook group in this
Yeah.
case?
So I have the podcast Natural Born Coaches. Then the Facebook group is the Coaching Jungle, and they support each other. So it's kind of like an ecosystem. And I would put my email list in there too. They all help grow each other. So whenever somebody listens to my podcast, there's ads, and I'm plugging the Facebook group to get them over there. If someone stumbles into the Coaching Jungle Facebook group, there's
Mm-hmm.
questions if they want to be added to my email list, there to grow my list. And then, of course, on my email list, I'm constantly talking about the podcast. So I'm not trying to be in 100 different places, because you can't be too scattered. But those are three big things that are helping to grow each other, would be the podcast, Facebook group, and email list are all intertwined, so to speak. But yeah, the Facebook group's a big part of it for sure.
In Katie, what do you think about I mean, Facebook group is one of the community form, right? Then you are also building a huge community on Ecamm, and I love it. And then even you give the training for them. Then I love the certificate, even though you know that I don't need certificate. But it's fun when you join something and then you get, oh, Anita Sonia, this is that you already accomplished this training from this expert. It is really fun. So.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we have a really similar style program to Mark because it works. So I mean, we definitely have Ecamm has its own podcast as well that teaches people all about video podcasting. But as you were saying, we do a ton of different workshops and trainings with different experts on topics that cover all aspects of video production, podcasting just being one of them. And then, yeah, I mean, I think having a Facebook group and an email list are both hugely important because that's the way that you're able to actually directly connect with your viewers and with your listeners, to be able to ask them
Mm-hmm.
questions or provide them additional resources and monetize and be able to, ideally sell them things or even
Mm-hmm.
monetize that as a membership community. So, um, yeah, I think there's lots of resources to do it. Facebook certainly makes it easy and accessible to everyone. There's a ton of different paid programs as well, paid platforms as well that you could look to if Facebook isn't your,
Mm-hmm.
isn't the place that you want to be, or you're looking for an owned space as well. So Facebook certainly has its upsides and its downsides in that you don't own the platform. So
Mm-hmm.
um, there's places as well that you could look to that are off platform.
And then, Mark, how do you generate the revenue here through the podcast, especially when you have just started? Of course, you have already huge community, huge downloads number. And then, is it possible to get revenue even though you have just started your podcast, or does it take certain time, maybe 3 years, and then many people now already more than 10 years in podcasting. That is really surprising, right? Well, podcast is still new in our country. When I mentioned it like
Yeah.
5 years ago, people ask what podcast is. The same thing like what a coach is. So I
Yeah.
had to do that at that time.
Yeah, the best way I monetize a podcast, I have an OnlyFans that I advertise on my podcast. I sell feet pics. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
That's
I don't want
Okay,
okay.
where
anyone
are
to
you
think.
going with
You,
this, Mark?
I can't see anyone paying for my feet pics. Not
I
to be too
cannot
rough on
open
myself.
OnlyFans
Yeah,
here, unfortunately, Mark.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So don't mind me. It's late in the day, so over here. But no, when it comes to the podcast, I think the holy grail for a lot of people when they start their show is they're looking for that elusive sponsor, right? They're going to hit
Mm-mm,
it big and have this big sponsor. And I'm not saying that can't happen, but that's very difficult, especially in the early stages, right?
mm,
What I suggest for new podcasters when I'm speaking with them is, instead of spending all this time and energy trying to get this big fish sponsor right now, obviously focus on putting out the best possible product for your show, but become
mm,
your own advertiser in the early days, so you're promoting your own. If you're a coach, it's coaching programs, maybe you're selling online courses, whatever. I would have your ad at the beginning, brought to you by, you're
mm,
sponsoring your own show. I would probably put a mid roll in, which I have on my show. So I have a it's about a minute intro in there. I have a 30-second mid roll, and then I have about a 20 to 30-second outro. Thanks for listening. A
mm,
reminder, go check out blah, blah, blah. So in the early stages, you could do that. And actually, I'm still doing that now with my show almost 900 episodes later. But I actually monetize my show. And I mean, we can get into this later. I don't want to drone on too long and take all the time here, but I do joint ventures with people. So I don't charge
mm,
partners, that I don't charge people to come on my show. But that being said, I have joint venture packages where I do a whole bunch of things for a JV partner over a week.
mm,
Like we do daily emails all over different places on social media. We're doing a bunch of stuff in the Facebook group and so on. But they also get an invite onto the podcast included in part of that. So my show's been backed up, like a lot of people's shows are, because they're getting so many booking agents reaching out to them and stuff. But I save spots for my joint venture partners. And my joint venture package, it's a $5,000 package. We have a bit of a
mm,
special on now; it's $4,000. But so they're not paying $5,000 to come on my show, but they're paying $5,000 for the joint venture, which includes an episode on my show, which is up, as you know, forever, right? In there. So that's how I monetize. I'm not a fan of charging for a spot on the show. I don't think people's heads are wrapped around that, or they're not big fans of it. But you can incorporate a podcast spot as a bonus in a joint venture offer that you have.
Wow, that is a great idea to join your group and then your programs without paying, just like a joint venture. But I know that you really select the people, like you work with big coaches, and Carden also sponsor us
Yeah.
on our 100 Days Live podcast, right? And then also like Terry Levin, I know her well and I
Yeah.
love them also. Uh, you work with them on the same, what is it? Contract or something like that with the joint venture?
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants to check it out, this isn't me trying to sell it, but just to see what the package includes. If you're looking
Mm-hmm.
to do something similar, it's jvwithmarc.com, and that's Marc with a C. So
Mm-hmm.
jvwithmarc.com. Now, you don't have to start. I didn't start charging $5,000 for that, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
When I started it like 5 years ago, I think it was 2,000. I had no
Mm-hmm.
clue. I'm like, I'll just put it out there, and then I realized that the demand was there, and was worth more than that. So it went up to 2,500, then 3,000, and and so on until it got to here. But I do recommend that if you're doing as much stuff as I outlined in that JV package, you should
Mm-hmm.
set a floor, probably a minimum about $1,000 to start if you're newer. Because you are doing a lot of work with writing emails and all this other stuff, so you don't want to charge peanuts for it. But yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
just get started. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain if you're doing that kind of model. With my joint ventures, I don't do affiliate commissions or anything. The partner pays a flat fee. They keep
Mm-hmm.
100% of sales. So if they sell $1 million, not that I promise $1 million, but they keep $1 million, they've already paid the fee with it. So that gives some, it's a for me, it's good because there's a level of protection because I spend so much time creating all that content, everything
Mm-hmm.
else that's in there. But also, it saves me honestly hundreds of hours a year time on my calendar because I'm sure you guys get hit up all the time with people. Hey, Sonia, you want to have a coffee chat, and I'll hear more about what you're doing and stuff. But it's really a disguised sales pitch to get them as you as an affiliate for them. Well, now you
Mm-hmm.
can send them directly to that JV page, and it says right in there, this is how I do it. There's an option to book a call there. So if somebody
Mm-hmm.
then gets back to me, well, I was hoping to do 25% of sales or whatever, I'm like, nope, I just do it the way that's outlined on the page. If you're not cool with that, that's fine, but that's how I do it. So I conservatively save about 100 hours a year, but it's really probably quite a bit more from calls.
No wonder you were very fast become a billionaire, Mark.
Okay, yeah. I wish.
What I mean is
No
like,
offense, but I wouldn't be here tonight if I was a billionaire. Nothing against you guys. I'd be on
oh,
an island.
oh
I'd be on an
no, that's
island sipping drinks. Yeah.
also no. But one day, I think you're a billionaire. Come here and change your currency into our local currency, and you are already
Well,
billionaire. Imagine
uh,
someone who lives in New York on a small apartment can own a villa in Bali. So
yeah.
live
The
like a
way the
king and
Canadian
queen.
dollar is, I think our other guest has a better chance of being a billionaire. The U.S. dollar is stronger.
Let's go
At
to
the
the
moment.
money
Yeah.
changer, Mark. Katie, what do you think about Mark program? Because I think it works only for the high ticket clients. He works with the high ticket clients, coaches, and consultants, right? And then in Ecamm, you really nurture your community also to monetize podcast at the end, right? Even though I know that many people think like podcast is really expensive, people are really reluctant talking about how to monetize podcast like Mark does, right? Because again, I would say that I want to be a YouTuber. Many people say that, even though a little girl or a little boy, no, I want to be a podcaster because it's not famous yet, it's not the image yet, and maybe it's the hard work only for creating podcast. But Mark create $1 million from the podcast.
I mean, I think what you said at the end, Mark, is really super valuable for the
Yeah.
kinds of customers and podcasters
Yes.
that we work with at Ecamm, which is you need to have a really, really clear idea of what you want
Mm-hmm.
and what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do and how the entire process works, because otherwise you do waste a ton of time back and forth with people that aren't aren't a good fit and aren't a good fit for you, and you're not a good fit for them. So we see this all the time where we're dealing with newer podcasters who are reaching out to us as a brand and are like, we'd love for Ecamm to sponsor our show, and I'm we don't sponsor a ton of shows, so I'm always looking
Mm-hmm.
for their media kit or their additional information, or like
Mm-hmm.
what sponsorship looks like to them. And I would say 9 out of 10 times people respond back with like, I don't know, we can build whatever kind of package works best for you. And those kinds of conversations never
Mm-hmm.
work out in the end,
No.
because
Mm-hmm.
it's this bumpy conversation where neither side really knows what the other side can offer, what the other people want. It's just really wishy-washy. So I would say if you're a newer podcaster, whatever
Mm-hmm.
whatever that that package or that media kit or that sponsorship information looks like, really spend the time to think that through, and it doesn't actually matter as much what the total amounts are. It really matters what makes the most amount of sense for you as a podcaster, for your
Mm-hmm.
time, and for your audience. How big is your audience? How loyal is your audience? You might
Mm-hmm.
not want to consider adding on ads or sponsors, right from the very start. As you were saying, Marc, like maybe it starts with just you and your products because you are building
Mm-hmm.
a relationship with your audience, and you're just not quite at the point yet where you want to be adding on additional partners. That's probably not where your audience is at. So I think it's, granted, I'm looking at it from a brand that deals with a lot of people asking for sponsorship asks, and then
Mm-hmm.
also, a person who spends a lot of time training people who falsely believe that they can just start a podcast and are going to have 1 million listeners and are going to be able to turn their podcast into a full-time job. And the reality is that it's a lot of work, and you really need to have a very clear plan, and you need to have a really good understanding of what value you bring to the table and the value of the audience and the community that you're building. So it's a little bit more nuanced than most people think, and it really just requires a lot of forethought and a lot of planning, and really good understanding of what you want to get out of it before you go about negotiating some of those deals or thinking through some of those calls that maybe you should just be holding off on for a little bit before you jump into.
The
And then,
other thing to keep in okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
the other thing to keep in mind with sponsors is that they can be quite picky, and that's
Yeah.
justifiable if they're spending a lot of money. But I had a potential sponsor reach out a few months ago, and I said, "Here's how I do it," and they're like, "Well, we're looking for something a little different." Then I do have a mid-roll package that, as I mentioned, I'm doing it. It's my own stuff now. But she said, we have just a few things that we need you to fill out, each week with it. And I'm like, okay. She said, I'll send it over. I didn't recognize 90% of the acronyms on this spreadsheet. It was all Greek to me. It's like I was in
Yeah.
a Egyptian tomb trying to read hieroglyphics or whatever. I'm like, I said, yeah, I'm going to hold off. Oh, well, no, it's not that bad. And she's trying to explain it. And it looked like something
Mm-hmm.
from the radio world that, the radio stations would be dealing with it. So for me, I'm like, it's not worth it, not for the, because it wasn't a
Yeah.
ton of money. It was a short mid-roll ad, and I
Mm-hmm.
just don't
Yep.
want to get into that. So you
Yeah.
have to be
Be
careful
picky.
with,
Yep.
yeah, don't just take the money because it's being offered you if it's going to be a pain in the butt.
A
Yeah,
pain in the
sure.
butt, and protect your audience. You're like, you are basically offering up to monetize your community, and you should always be thinking through and protecting like their best interest, because when you lose them, you have nothing left to monetize and you don't have a show anymore. So it is
Oh,
important, like
okay.
protecting your own time, but also thinking through what, like, who are the partners that are best for your audience and not just the easiest to monetize with, I guess is.
I agree. But what kind of products that we can offer from the very beginning when we have just started? And then also, Mark, do you also evaluate the products that the coaches and consultants promote on your group, right? Because maybe they are good, but maybe cannot be monetized or something like that, Mark. Or do you need to evaluate first and check first before joining your community or your group?
Well,
How does it?
before I do a joint venture with someone, I want to check them out and make sure it's the right fit. The main criteria, I have 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be something for coaches because that's my world. It's coaches. Has to
Mm-hmm.
be something good because my name's attached to it. So, like you just alluded to, there's that challenge. And this one I'm a little more flexible on. I've become in the last few years, but I always said it has to be something not too similar to one that I did recently.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, one of my joint venture past partners is a YouTube ads expert. If I just did a joint venture last week around YouTube ads, that partner's Alric Heck. But if Joe Smith comes along the next week and wants to do it with YouTube ads, it might be a little too soon. It may need some breathing room. Now, that
Yeah.
being said, I was speaking to a really smart email marketer and online entrepreneur a little while ago about it. He said, yeah, I used to think that way, but he said, now I run them even if they are similar with
Hmm.
short periods of time in between. And he said, sometimes I find maybe person or partner A wasn't the right cup of tea for them, but
Mm-hmm.
partner partner B is, and he doesn't worry too much. So I'm more concerned with, is it something for coaches? Is it something good? If like Trojan Condoms came in and wanted to sponsor my show, it's probably not the right fit for natural born coaches, right?
I
Nothing
get
against
to that way.
Trojan.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
almost midnight there in Canada.
Yeah, so it's got to be the right fit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Katie, you have been with many influencers, and what kind of products that actually suitable or suit with our audience as a podcaster?
Yeah, I mean, I really same to what Mark said. I mean, all the partners that we look for and the ones that we work with, I have a background in, video production, in technology, in
Mm-hmm.
podcasting, in live streaming. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, and we hold pretty strongly to that. We actually get a lot of pushback both in our affiliate program and in
Mm-hmm.
sponsorships where people who are not existing customers want
Mm-hmm.
to, partner with us, and we're a Mac only software, so for us, it's like I only really want to work with people who are existing customers that love the product, that use it often, because otherwise it's just salesy and not authentic, and it doesn't provide a really good experience all the way through to the potential customers that we're trying to reach. It doesn't benefit the person who is sponsoring with us or acting as an affiliate. So for us, we have the liberty where we're able to be a little bit choosy. We're reaching a really specific audience, and we want the right people working with us. We're not just trying to hit across the board, because I don't think it works that way. So
What about the VH as a club? Because it is really, really specific needs. And I hope that you will review about Iron Man, because if we see behind, Iron Man is already old, right? Like about 15 years ago already.
Yeah.
And
well,
then
so
Mark also with his dad joke, sometimes he's really, really bad on his dad joke. Talk about Gwyneth Paltrow, and then I reply right about the. I hope that if you have the message from Iron Man from Robert Downey
Yeah.
Jr., please give me notice. Please tell me.
Yeah. So that happened earlier today when I was checking in on the Facebook group. We had a request from Gwyneth Paltrow, which Gwyneth spell. You'd think she could spell her last name right since it's her
yeah.
name, but
Yeah,
she
I
left out
cannot
the
pronounce it
W.
well. I know.
Yeah. So I said, I'm sure it's an honest mistake, but it
Mm.
had, Gwyneth Paltrow and all this stuff. I'm like, come on, like. I guess, but I made the joke because I'm a big Iron Man fan, Robert Downey Jr. and stuff.
See,
It's
Katie, when
2000,
will you discuss
2008
about
was when
Iron
that.
Man on VSS Club?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you'll both
I
have to
don't think
join us.
I'll be getting Gwyneth Paltrow on the podcast or anything. We denied that request, but yeah, there's some
Come
strange people
on,
out there.
can you, after talking about OnlyFans and other thing now tonight, I don't think that you can refuse Gwyneth Paltrow on your show, Mark. Whatever the reason is.
Oh,
One
too
thing I
funny.
will mention, Sonia, and I think it's important, Kathy, you kind of alluded to it. When it comes to podcasting, a lot of people jump in expecting it to be instant riches, like it's going to be a magic money tree in their
Yeah,
backyard.
me
And
too.
yeah, I always say I'm an optimist, but I'm a realistic optimist. So when I started my show in 2014, I said, I'm not going to worry how much money I'm making off
Yep.
the podcast in the early months or whatever. I'm just going to do my best. And that first year was stressful because it was a daily podcast and I was
Oh
editing my
man.
own show at the time. Yeah, I felt like, because I'd learned through John Lee Dumas's Podcaster's Paradise. John, of
Mm,
course, with Entrepreneur on Fire was doing daily. I'm like, oh, how hard could it be? John's doing it or whatever. So, I did that for about a year, get 350, 360 episodes. Then I
Yeah.
scaled back. It's been a weekly frequency for many years.
mhm,
But a lot of times people start a show and it's very broad. It's not niche down at all. And,
Yep.
I'm not trying
mm.
to discourage people because their heart's in the right place. But if in 2024, 2025, you think, oh, I'm going to start a podcast for entrepreneurs or to help people become successful. That's
10 years
same thing
after
goes.
you started.
It's too broad, right? And the other
Mm-hmm.
challenge that we have now that wasn't as prevalent back in 2014 when I started is every
Mm-hmm.
Tom, Dick, or Harry celebrity is starting a podcast, and they
Yeah.
got much bigger followings than us. Like, yeah, have
Yeah.
you noticed how many celebrities now? So back in the old
Mm-hmm.
days, I hit it used to be iTunes, of course now it's Apple Podcasts, but I hit
Mm-hmm.
iTunes new and noteworthy when my show launched. No chance whatsoever
Yeah. Yeah.
now if I ever did that, unless it was on a reality show or something. I don't know. It's just not going to happen because every celebrity has it. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's all I'd say is make sure that you're really clear who it's for and what it's about, and don't have it so broad in general that it's for everyone, because then it won't appeal to anyone really.
You see,
Yeah.
Katie, even though Mark has like a static face, but actually he has a good heart and he can make jokes, but he cannot
Yeah.
laugh. I don't understand why. Maybe we need to tickle him. And I would like to say hi to Katie Simpson and also
Hi,
Stuart
Katie Simpson.
Buchan.
Hi,
This is
Mark.
an interesting look, Sonia, the power of Ecamm. Yes, I'm sorry that I'm in the middle like this because I'm still new. I'm just a kindergarten student for Ecamm right now.
What did we say before
You're
we
very
went
little.
live? When I'm speaking to you, Sonia, I'm going to talk like this, and then Kathy, I'll be like this.
Exactly.
But this is the
Perfect.
fun of live
Perfect.
streaming. You cannot hide your mistakes, right? So this is
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
It takes
I love
time
it. Mhm.
to learn about technology. But I don't let it to overwhelm myself, right? So
I love it. More people could stand to learn that. I feel like people put off and avoid doing the work because they want
yeah,
it to
I
be perfect,
tried it
you know?
before,
Yep.
but it was easier because I was going solo, right, for the test. But
Yeah.
with the guest speakers now, I don't know how to move the
It's
camera
harder.
or
Yeah.
something like that.
Did you
Yeah.
guys see the video clip when it's like a journalist being interviewed by whatever BBC or something, and then his
No, no,
toddler wanders
Oh,
in the
yeah.
background or whatever,
no, not
and
hearing. Please tell
he's trying
us.
to talk and whatever. And I guess the point being, at the end of the day, that if someone had an
Mm-mm.
issue with, let's say, the camera set up here, or if someone wanders in, it's not the end of the world. Like, I kind of like it if it's
I
a
understand, Mark,
little
but you
less
know
polished,
me. It's
right?
hard to be a
Yeah.
perfectionist sometimes, overthinking too much. And then about
Yeah.
the podcast, how is the future of podcast with the video podcast? Because we cannot
Mm.
differ anymore about the podcast, right? Whether it is a video, live streaming, or podcast, because YouTube also has podcast today.
Yeah. I think the second that YouTube moved into that space, the game has changed, and anyone that is ignoring it is going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting. Like we at Ecamm started in the live streaming space, and then now the tool has become much more of a full video production tool that you can use for anything, including podcasting. But
Mm-hmm.
you're right. I think the lines have really blurred between what is a podcast versus what is a show. I mean, you can do a ton of different things and get to the same end goal. So I think having video as part of your strategy for your show is hugely important because YouTube is
I agree.
not going anywhere anytime soon, and they are hugely
Mm-hmm.
powerful search engines. So being able to make sure that your show is included in that in some way is almost mandatory at this day and age.
It's what the second most popular search engine behind Google, which is strange. You
And
don't think
Mm-hmm.
and
of
owned
YouTube as
by
a
Google.
search engine.
Yeah,
It's yeah, so
exactly.
it's not Ask Jeeves or any of
Mhm.
those old time ones, or even Bing. Yeah, Ask Jeeves
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
probably is not around anymore, but
probably
Alta
not.
Vista.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
What about
I mean,
Instagram? Because they changed into videos also today. Well, it used to be for picture, but they can disappear just like Google Podcast. I think if they keep only stand on the picture, right, or photos.
yeah. Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
be interesting to see what happens. That's for sure.
What is your
I don't know.
prediction, Mark, about podcast today?
It can be a little overwhelming. I'm reading Gary
Mm-hmm.
Vaynerchuk's new book, Day Trading Attention, and I'm overwhelmed from reading it. Gary suggests that you post on 5 or 6 social media platforms 5 times
Mm.
a day or whatever. So
Oh
doing the
my
Wow.
math, I'm
God,
like, okay,
five
we got
times a
30
day.
pieces of content, which Gary has a whole team. They're following him around while
Yeah,
he
I
brushes his
agree.
teeth and showers and all that.
He's got
But
lots
for
of
most
content.
people, Yeah, like he had one the other day. I don't know. He was getting a tooth pulled or something. He was doing a live stream while he was like on the dentist chair. I'm like, okay, that's good. He's committed. I'm a little bit old school where the base of my podcast is the audio, uploaded to Libsyn and then going out to other places. I'm on YouTube. Admittedly, I don't push it super hard. I got not a huge channel there or whatever, but it is something I have to look at because, like Kathy mentioned, it's not going away, and I don't want to bury my head in the sand and say. But I am a fan of the audio part as a kind of home base, and then you've got the video that you can put elsewhere. So
yeah, and I think if you, I think like to the Gary comment, you might not get to Gary level where you have tons and tons of content going out all the way across, but I would challenge anyone that if you start with video, or you start with kind of the biggest, hardest part of all of it, there are so many tools and like processes and systems out there to be able to take a really long form video content and turn that into small digestible pieces of content, whether that's blog posts or short video clips or email newsletters. There's so many AI tools out there to make that process easy. So if you can get into the habit of just consistently, and whatever consistent means for you, weekly, monthly, daily, what have you, consistently recording video content or streaming it and using it that way, the rest of it downstream is significantly easier these days because there's so many tools to help kind of break down that content and get it out across the various social platforms, email, into communities, etc. The hardest part is still just the being consistent with the content creation. So start big, start long form, and then be able to kind of go from there is significantly easier than starting small or starting downstream and then trying to work your way up to a longer form.
A few years down the road, there might be, or I already read about this, AI clones, like they're setting up to represent you on Zoom when you're in meeting. So I could see that where there's AI Sonia, AI Kathy, AI Marc. We just type in what we want to say, and then bang, it's out
But
there.
it will help my English, Marc. It will help my pronunciation also. I believe it will be better.
It won't be you. It won't be the same.
That's why. Okay, thank you for Tim Gillette also for the like. I forget to greet him. But then about the podcast itself, right? Because there are so many progress in podcasting world. Then how can we update ourselves? Like of course because like Katie, because this is your work as a marketing director to keep up with the technology and everything. How do you have time for that? I mean, spend the time for it for to keep up the
You
technology.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
mean,
learn it?
you have to make time for it, so it needs to be a priority to you. To like, if you've committed to doing it, it needs to be a priority for you. I honestly, and to kind of go back full circle to what Marc was talking about at the beginning of this conversation, having a community or having a network that you can connect in with is how I manage to keep up with everything that's on trend. That and attending, whether it's virtual or in-person events. But just even like
Okay.
I'm a member of a number of different podcasting communities and groups. Some are my own and customers that we work with, and some are created by other people. But those are the spaces where people are talking about trends and updates and new tools and places and showing examples. So you're going to find out about that sooner if you have some kind of community or group that you can go to ask for advice or to spend time together and learn together. It's an easier than ever to be able to connect with people and learn together. So find those groups and those spaces and those events that you can go to make sure that you're connected in and know what's going on.
Yeah, still I don't understand because you seem always be on holiday, traveling a lot,
I'm
having fun,
amazing.
and you still have 11 chickens also, and then
Well, speaking of
here,
networking and monetizing
yeah.
your show, which a lot of podcasters neglect, is that your guests could be potential clients, right, for you.
Oh.
At the very least, they could be joint venture partners or so. So, a
Yep.
very important piece of the podcast. A lot of times I see people making the mistake that they get done the show. Okay, Joe, thanks for coming on the show. Have a good one. Bye. Click, they're gone. I put a
Yeah.
lot of
I
importance
know,
on,
Mark, but
even the
there are so many protests in the Facebook groups that you target the podcast guests as potential clients. You know that kind of
Yeah,
marketing system
and I
there.
know that can come across a little bit sketchy. I'm
Mm-mm,
not a fan of it. I don't invite people on my show think, "Ooh, I think they're going to be a
mm-mm,
great fit," but for as a client. But that being said, for me, for joint venture partners, and it's not even.
mm-mm,
But what I would suggest doing is just, hey, look, do you have a couple minutes after we finish recording to stay on? I'd love to just hear a little bit more what you're working on or
Mhm.
whatever. I do think that that's important instead of just closing out, your Zoom or whatever, or
mm-mm.
Ecamm, and and just leaving. Stay on and just learn a little bit more about them because some of you've mentioned a few of my joint venture partners, Terry Levine, we've done 4 or 5 JVs together, and Carden
Wow,
and I have
five
done three
GV
or four.
already.
Yeah, over the years. And that came about just having conversations with them. They've been on my show, but we've
Mm-hmm.
chatted offline as well or after we're done recording. So I'm just saying, don't sleep on the post interview chat. I think that's an
Yeah,
important thing.
Yeah. What I do
absolutely.
next with the this podcast is because I put the best interviews on my book for next year, and Rob Green, one of the of famers already write the forwards because I already write the draft and everything. So I do the different thing like the other authors did, right? Like they write the book first and then ask for the forward, not me. I ask the forward first so that I know where the book will go, I mean, it's like the guidance, the direction, because I experienced that the forwards can be totally different than the content. You know what I mean? Because people just okay, I just give the forward, not without reading the content because they are busy people. So I do differently this time. I already get the forward and then I do it from there. Very easy.
It reminds me
Very
of
easy.
a guy who eats a cereal. I
Uh,
read about it on Reddit, I think, where he pours the milk into the bowl first and then he pours the cereal in, which
yes,
really freaked me out for
that's
some
what
reason.
I'm
I'm like,
doing now. So.
that's yeah, which nothing wrong with that. It's good to be different, but that's what in the book world you're doing. You're pouring the milk in, then the
Or
cereal
the
goes
milk.
in.
Yeah, I love
Oh,
that.
but you see, Mark, even with Ecamm, at that time, Katie sponsored me, even though I haven't used Mac Air at that time. I haven't used Apple products,
Mhm.
but that's why I feel really welcome. Like on Ecamm, they don't care if you are an influencer who hasn't used the product. Other people will use the product first, give the review, being pretty, being handsome. Not me. You see, even today, I'm still trying to use the Ecamm
Mm.
for
You
the
get
guest
you
speakers like that.
you get what you ask for too. And again, like back
Thank
to you,
you.
like you're a really good example of it where you haven't asked, you reach out, you have
Mm-mm,
like a list of what you're willing to do, but you're
mm-mm,
flexible to make any kinds of decisions around it.
mm-hmm.
And you are also, unlike a lot of people, willing to try and push buttons and like get the content out there, which I
Thank
think
you.
is great. So yeah,
Yeah, people
I
call me crazy, that for 100 days. But this time I try to be more flexible about the schedule so I don't need to wake up at 2 or like today only
yeah,
2 hours
don't do
sleep.
that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself.
Not every day, but this is what is it? For our work, it's okay for me, no problem. I get used with it. To adapt with the American time zone and then now the Canadian time zone. And Mark, what do you think about the future of your group? Are you going to still go on the groups, or do you have another plan or system to grow your business?
Well, the challenge with Facebook groups, which again I think we touched on before, is you don't own
Mm,
that group. Mark Zuckerberg wakes up on the wrong side of the bed or something, or whatever group could be
mm-hmm,
poof. So I don't. I know I want to continue growing. My group's up to about 26,000 now, but I want to
Wow,
keep
great.
going, go
mm-hmm,
with it. But that being said, I don't want to put all eggs in one basket. I'm a really big fan of email marketing, your email
Mhm.
list, because you own that list, and
Yep.
no one can take that away from you. And so I wish more coaches and entrepreneurs would be consistent with email. And I'm big on daily emails, which that could be a
mm-hmm,
whole other interview. People say, "Oh my God, that's crazy," or whatever. But yeah, I've been doing daily emails for years and going to continue with that. So yeah, it's no plans to change with the coaching jungle or any of that.
mm-hmm. Because it
Mhm.
is one of the groups that has thousands of community, right? But it works while the other groups are dying, only crickets, even though they have thousands of members. And then, do you have someone to manage the group or only you? Because I know that you love the dad jokes, too busy for that to manage the group.
Yeah.
And then also it's
um,
like,
I've
do you
had
have
both.
someone for the ideas
Yeah.
for the email, daily email, two questions, or
Yeah, so I do have help. Actually, I just brought a new person on last week, Findo
mm-mm,
from South Africa, who's
mm-mm,
Awesome.
watching 8 hours a day, and
awesome.
she's just been great. I started a Google Doc, which was an admin guide. I'm like, oh, it'll be
Mm-mm,
5 pages or whatever for the group. I didn't realize how much that we've done in there because we launched a group in 2015. The monster's about 40 pages by now, and it's growing every
Wow.
day. But anyway, she took to it like a duck to water. So
mm-hmm,
yeah, that's I do have help. But that being said, if you're starting a Facebook group and if it's not monetizing stuff yet, don't. I wouldn't. I mean, you can get volunteer admin if there's people in the community that enjoy it that
mm-hmm,
want to help out. But in my experience, I've tried paid before years ago. I've tried volunteer and stuff, and I've done probably more admin than a lot of people would for a group that size. But I do think that's important to keep a handle on it. And I've been
mm-hmm.
like a little dictator in there deleting spam over the years. It's like a
Yes,
banana
I know
republic, you
that.
know.
I know
Yeah, but
that.
that's one of the reasons why the group has, I think, has done well is that it
The
hasn't become like the
Godfather.
Wild West with spam. And then we just introduced a new VIP perk, which allows people to post on the wall that pay that are in that
Mm-hmm,
VIP, and they get other benefits too. But I wouldn't have been able to charge what I'm charging for the VIP if we didn't do a good job building it and running it up to now. So you have to no one's going to treat the group like you treat your own group, because I've tried
mm-hmm,
volunteer admins before, and they just it's not there, so they don't care about it as much. So you gotta find some diamonds in the rough when it comes to admin.
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And Katie, what do you think about the Ecamm in the future as live streaming? And now we can record the live streaming and then download with the voice to podcast also. Because you know that your big competitor, one of the big competitors, like mentioned in StreamYard, has no clue where it goes now after being sold to the other company. So I think you are the strongest together with free stream start to grow again also.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the cool thing about a tool like Ecamm is because it is desktop based, it
Mm-mm,
has always been a pretty powerful piece of video software. So it
mm-hmm,
allows you to live stream and multi-stream. Certainly you could do that. You can record video in wide or vertical all the way up to 4K. And then now we have
mm-hmm,
a full integration with Zoom. So you can take all of the features that exist in Ecamm into your Zoom, and you can also pull Zoom guests into your Ecamm. So
mm-hmm,
it's a full video production software tool, but it's really designed for Mac people. So it's really made to be
mm-hmm,
very drag and drop, easy enough to be able to get comfortable with and to be able to do just about anything in the world of video with. And I think that's really where the future of all these spaces are going, is that now that it's accessible to everyone, you're going to see more and more people jumping into all aspects of video, whether that's, short video
mm-hmm,
on platforms like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, or that's podcasts and video podcasts, or
mm-hmm.
that's just better presentations and webinars and meetings on platforms like Zoom. So we're not going anywhere. We're not selling out to larger companies. We're happy to keep making video production easy
Can
for
you
people.
bash StreamYard now? Like spill the tea on why StreamYard's bad? You must know some stuff, right? We'll take 5 minutes to just bash the competitors. So,
So it's funny with when it comes to StreamYard. So like the creators of StreamYard and our co-founders have been friends for years. It's a small like this
Yeah,
is a, this
we
is a
don't call
small
them competitors, Mark. We cooperate
yeah.
together in live
mhm.
streaming. You
Yeah.
see that?
It's a small space, and the web-based tools like StreamYard and Riverside and um, Restream that you were saying, all of these
Mhm,
tools, like the benefit of a tool like that is that it's really really easy, like as you were
mhm,
showing earlier, right? Like Ecamm
mhm,
has a little bit of a learning curve. You can do a ton with it,
mhm,
but it doesn't have right now built into it like layouts, and it's not kind of ready to go if you haven't spent time kind of learning and building out exactly the show that you want it, the way that you want it to be. So there are benefits to web softwares, there are benefits to desktop softwares. I think you're going to see both continue to grow in these different spaces. The web-based
mhm,
softwares are going to have a little bit more of a problem in kind of allowing you to create and take your video with you anywhere because
Mm-hmm.
they're really, I mean, there to live stream and to make connecting guests easy. That's the goal for those softwares.
Maybe in the future it will be like Iron Man also on the screen, on the to that kind of technology, and with AR, augmented that one. So with
Reality,
the
yeah.
reality, it will be great to see that. But again, why Zoom? What did make Ecamm decide to work with
Oh gosh.
Zoom
I
than the
mean,
other platform? Because here Zoom is very popular, just like the Google Meet, because it is free for the meeting, right?
yeah.
That's why for the rupiah, Indonesian rupiah, people prefer to use that for live streaming and everything for the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I Zoom is a wildly popular software. It's sort of best in class for video communication, and it really, like, on the other side of the pandemic, it really differentiated itself as just a really powerful professional software that is used by, millions and millions of people. The specific reason why we ended up going with Zoom really was just because we had such an ask for it. There were so many people within our community who were
Mm,
running these, like, very big productions. They were doing virtual events, they were running webinars with thousands of people, and they wanted to be able to produce better video within Zoom. And we had some great
mm,
contacts there, so we were able to build that out. You can still use Ecamm in Google Meet or Microsoft Teams or any of these other
mm.
video platforms. You just don't have quite the same level of features that you get with the Zoom integration because that's fully built in. But yeah, it's a big, awesome tool that's used by lots and lots of people. That's the answer.
It's very fast. It's almost 1 hour. I cannot feel it. Mark, what do you think about this? The progress of Ecamm and other platform. What is your favorite platform to go live streaming
Well, I
and
have to say
podcasting?
Ecamm,
Because
right?
you said lipstick.
No, you can be honest. You can say what you
Yes,
want.
or we
What
will
you
took
I couldn't
take
live
a.
without Ecamm, and I made my first million exclusively from Ecamm. No, I could have a talk for a while about my frustrations with Facebook and the
Mm-mm.
streaming
Mhm.
into groups and
But
all
today
this
I'm
other stuff.
happy. On the Ecamm can go live streaming on Facebook now. I couldn't make it with
Good.
Restream and also.
Well, I'll have to look at that because, of course, with
This
Zoom,
is
you're getting
great
into the
now.
streaming keys and all that other
Mm,
stuff. So
and
yeah, I mean,
streaming.
full disclosure, I don't believe I've used, even though I'm a Mac person, Ecamm a lot
Mm.
with it, but I'll have to check it out. I have
Yeah,
used
no.
Use
Restream.
my affiliate code then.
Yeah, give me your affiliate link, and then you can
Yeah.
retire with the sale. Yeah, no, I'll check it out. But no, I think anything that takes content and moves it around different places is a good thing, And it goes back to like email. One of the reasons people are like, "You're crazy. Why do you write an email every day to your list?"
Yes,
Because
yes.
my email it goes to 7 different places,
Yeah,
7 or 8. It goes to my
Oh.
blog. It goes to 3 places on Facebook. That email goes to LinkedIn. It goes to
smart.
Twitter. It goes all over the place. Now, it might have to be tweaked just a little in some cases, but
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of orange that you're juice that you're getting out of that orange, right? For one
Mm-hmm.
email that could go around, and the same thing goes with what we're talking about with the different tools like Ecamm and stuff.
Yeah,
So it
exactly.
is okay to spread the email, which is usually more exclusive to be a content on the other platform,
Yeah,
on
I've
blog
never had
and.
anyone complain, and it hasn't hurt
Mm,
my subscriptions. There's arguments to be made. The person that got me to daily emails told me to put them on the blog as well, and I thought, well, why'd you
Mhm.
put your email on a blog that people can get? But there's different reasons, SEO and stuff like that. It doesn't hurt
mm,
the. Some people like getting it still into their inbox every day, but the name of the game is to get the message to as many people as possible, right? And then you only have so many hours. So if you're trying to create different content for your email and all this different content all over the place, it's going to be tough. So yeah,
mm,
we could chat some other time about daily emails, Sonia. That's a whole other show there. But yeah,
mm.
I'm a fan.
That's awesome.
Do you have any message for our audience later who watch later for our today show? Because I know video podcasting grow very fast, and then two people still going to listen to the audio after this, because we think that audio podcast is like a radio in the past that
Mhm.
started to disappear even in our own country.
I think audio podcasting is still wildly popular. Was I misunderstanding your question? I think people
No,
consume
no.
content in both ways.
Mm-hmm. Before
When
closing this,
whenever I'm
that's why.
Yeah, if I'm driving, I'm at the grocery
Yeah.
store, I'm
Mm-hmm.
cleaning the house or whatever, I don't
Mhm.
want, well, first off, if I have a video playing and I lock my phone, it shuts off YouTube or
Mhm.
whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for me, I love podcasts, Audible, stuff like that, because I'm not going to be watching video while I'm driving. Well, hopefully not. So yeah, I'm the same way. I think if I don't see any loss in popularity for the audio.
Mm-hmm.
I think if anything, so many more people have found out about podcasts the last 5 years, 7 years, whatever. When I started my show, I literally had family members and stuff in 2014, like, what's a podcast?
With the podcast, yeah.
Yeah, which nowadays I hope there's not many people like that, but that was,
Mm-hmm.
I got some weird looks. Like, what do you mean you're doing a podcast?
Mm-hmm.
So I think just so many
Still in
more people have
Canada,
watched
in
it.
advanced country, you hear that kind of comment. Wow, amazing.
Not as much, yeah, not as much anymore. But yeah, I think people just also appreciate being able to access it in different ways. Like there are
Mm-hmm.
shows where, as you were saying, Mark, like when I'm out walking
Mm-hmm.
the dog or I'm doing something where I can't watch a video, I'm going to listen to it. But if there is like a video element to a show, or I have time, I'm sitting down at my desk, or I've got it on the TV, like
Mm-hmm.
I will sit there and engage with it. And especially if it's a live stream show where they're using that as the recording for their podcast, I'll participate
Mm-hmm.
in the chat. Like, so if you, it depends on what your day looks like or what your time is, but the ability to be able to connect with your favorite shows in the places and ways that you want to, I think is what people are looking for now, right? It needs to
Yeah.
fit
Mm-hmm.
into their schedule. You need to fit into their schedule, not the other way around, because people want to be able to have that level of accessibility to the content creators that they're listening to.
Yeah, talking about that because you mentioned that we need to create the long video, right, Kathy? Well, Mark
Mhm.
also listened to the podcast when he's driving. So, what is the ideal length of podcast actually?
I don't think there is one. I think it's whatever I think it's whatever you want to be, but I don't think that people are afraid of listening to a long form podcast. I
Mm-hmm.
think like some of the most
Yeah.
successful shows out
To be
there are
continued, something like that, after
right. Are
driving and
Joe
then drinking
Rogan.
coffee.
Yep. Yep. So I mean I don't think you should be I don't think you should be wasting people's time if you only have 15 minutes of content but you're trying to stretch it
Mm-hmm.
out to an hour. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't yeah, I don't I think it's whatever length works best for the content that you're creating.
Yeah. Like my show is maximum 30 minutes, usually 25 minutes. And the only
Mhm.
reason why is I don't do a lot of chit chat. We jump right in. And, you've heard that old, I don't think it's necessarily true because you got the Joe Rogan 3 hour ones and stuff. But the average
Wow.
commute in like North America, I heard was 25 minutes or 29
Mhm.
minutes or whatever. So that was the theory if you keep it under 30. But if someone enjoys something, I have some, podcasts that are an hour and a half, I have no problem. Now I listen at 2x speed. I'm used to that now. But yeah, I say at the end of the day, it's really that sweet spot, whatever's the best experience for your listener, getting them what they
Mhm.
need. I don't like shows that talk for 30 minutes about the bagel that they had this morning and, the whatever, like how their weekend was and there's no value there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, no, let's get to it. Come on.
Yeah.
And how long will it be Joe Rogan become the godfather of podcast? It seems that everyone look at him now. Well, I don't really enjoy the show sometimes, it's not like my type of show. But people really look at him on podcast. For
Yeah.
the success, meaning I mean like,
Yeah.
I want to be like Joe Rogan on our podcast. Well, it doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah. No, he. I think. Yeah. What I like. I don't listen to many of them or watch many of them. I have
Mhm.
watched some, but what I like is he's got people from across the spectrum. A lot of shows are from a political, all on one side of the aisle, and he's got.
Mm-hmm.
Look at some of the ones between Elon Musk. The Terrence Howard one was nuts. Whoever's talking about aliens and the pyramids and all this other weird stuff too, but. I will recommend. This goes back to video more so than podcast, but the show The Y Files is probably one of my favorite YouTube shows, and it's often an hour, and I watch every minute. I love it. So if it was 15 minutes, wouldn't get everything in there. It's just really well produced show, and that's you can tell they put the effort into it. So whatever show you do, just put enough effort into it. Make sure that's quality.
Absolutely.
Yay! Katie, do you want to add before we close this? Thank you so much for being here today. I feel honored that you
Yeah.
support me all the way, Mark and Katie.
Oh my gosh, it's
All
always
Thank you.
partner
a
that like
pleasure.
podcast.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add. Yeah, no, I think it's been a fun conversation. Nice to meet you, Mark.
Did you let people know we're staying on for the Harris Trump debate? We're going to be doing a
I can't. I
commentary
have to go
today.
vote. I need to
Not
get going there
here.
to vote. My
Oh,
vote matters.
but the
Yeah.
voting is at night there. You don't need to
It's
go
from
somewhere to vote. Is it
It's in.
online or something like that?
it's from a no. It's from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I gotta run
Wow,
over and get my vote in before
sorry.
voting closes. No, no, you're fine. We have time. Yeah,
You can't complain if you don't vote, they say. So I'm
I
Canadian, so I
know.
love American politics. I have the popcorn, just watching the circus
I
down there.
know.
It's very
I made.
entertaining.
I have both, so I have to keep up my
Mark, why do
American
you
side.
make the politics as a joke that way?
Yeah,
Watching as like on the cinema with the popcorn and everything.
yeah,
I love I love Canadian politics, but I love American politics.
yeah,
It's very entertaining. So I watch all the primary debates, the general
yeah,
election debates,
Mm-hmm.
the commercials, and I'm
yeah.
checking on YouTube and everything. Yeah, I'm a junkie, political junkie.
I love it.
I hope that it doesn't break your relationship that way with your clients and also with your loved ones, because there are many
Yeah.
people who have
There are
the
feelings.
different political
Yeah,
views and become enemies even though they are
Yes.
families, like in
yeah.
here. Thank
Yes.
you
But
so
thank you
much.
for the invite.
Thank you so much for being here
Thank
today. It is
you.
a great fun. Sorry about the
Yeah.
tag. I'm not
No
that
You're
problem.
smart,
fine.
you know that. And I
Uh,
will
Thank
see you
you.
again
Nice
soon.
meeting you, Kathy. And
Nice to
thank
meet
Yeah,
you.
I
you.
hope that you
Anya.
connect
Yeah.
each other, okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice to meet you. Thank you so much. We'll see you the next time.
Thank you so
Bye bye.
much. Bye bye.
Bye.